Well, hey, good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Yeah? You guys ready? Ted Cunningham, so good to be with you all tonight. Thank you for coming out and joining us. You are in for a real treat. We're going to have a lot of fun together tonight. We're going to laugh. We are in the middle of a series as a church, 4 weeks, 4 dates. Everybody enjoying the series, getting out, getting some dates in, yeah? That's awesome. My name is Josh. I'm on staff here at the church. My wife and I, Erica, have gotten out a few times and just really enjoying being a part of this series. So we have the 2 competitions going on, right? So we have the overall, if you go on a date each week, you can get your name in for a chance to win the grand prize of an overnight trip or, the day trip, which is still great. And then each week we're doing these competitions. And man, it's just so fun to see all of the creativity that first week of the dates and then all the adventurous dates that second week. And then this week, the funny dates. All right, how many of you are feeling good about your funny date? How many are you here? This is your funny date, right? Yeah, there we go. I like that. That's good. Well, stay tuned. This Sunday, show up, and we're going to be announcing the winner of the funny date. So tonight, before we get started here, I got a few giveaways. Anybody like giveaways here? Yeah? Yeah, all right. I got them in a Frisbee, okay? So here's the deal. I don't know how this is going to work or if it's going to work, but it's the gift card is in the Frisbee, okay? So I'm going to throw it. I'm really sorry if I hit you in the head. I'm going to try really hard not to. So this first one here, Captain Sunday with the Pirates Landing, okay? So a little ice cream mini golf, all right, over here, yeah? All right, I'm going to try this out. Yeah, all right, yeah, okay. Got a little hook on it, sorry, all right. Next one, we got Market Bucks, okay? So yeah, go down to the farmer's market. Yeah, right back there. All right, I'm going to see if I can get it back there. That was a terrible throw, just terrible throw. All right, so we got your choice of one of Ted's books, okay? Ted Cunningham's got a book table out in the lobby. He's going to be out there. You can go out there and redeem it for any of the books that he has on the table. Anybody way back? I'm going to try and not hit the camera, but I'm going to try getting them back. All right, here we go. Okay, look at that snag. Come on. We got another Ted book over here. Yeah. Okay, oh man, I'm hooking them like crazy. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, now we've got, so this is more of this could be a fun date, maybe a little adventurous for some of you. We have a gift card to BAM, the bowling and entertainment. Yeah? All right, I'm going over here. Yep. Oh yeah, check out that distance. Oh. All right, got 2 more real quick. All right, we got tickets to Sperry's Movie House. You know that new place downtown? Come on, front row love. Okay, oh yeah, I love that. Okay, and then I'm going all the way back for this one. Get ready. This is New Holland Brewery. Okay, we got dinner. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Oh! Whew. Thought I was going here, but I was going over there. Yeah, see? It's tricky. Totally intentional. Yeah, we're going to have fun tonight. Well, hey, if you're ever thinking, this whole series thing has been awesome and doing the dates has been great, and you're like, okay, how do I keep this going? I just want to encourage you all to check out our cable groups. It's a great way for you to get connected as a couple into biblical community where, you're holding each other accountable, you're just sharing life together. I've heard so many stories of just growth and people really loving this, hey, like, let's see what it looks like to have relationships and see what the scripture says about just connection and all that. And to do that in community with one another is just so good. So I could not recommend that more. So if you're not in a cable group, please, I just highly recommend you check that out. You can go to our website. Janelle, our group's coordinator, is going to be at the info desk after the event, so you can stop by there to just learn more information or to sign up. So please check that out if you are not in a group already. All right, well, without further ado, Ted Cunningham is here tonight. Did you know that Ted Cunningham is here? I'm excited. It's going to be good. So Ted is the pastor of Woodland Hills Family Church out in Branson, Missouri. Did I say that? Branson, yes. He and his wife, Amy, have 2 awesome kids. And like I said, Ted will be, after the event, he'll be out by his books and just wanting to meet people and hang out. So Enough of me. Here we go. Ted Cunningham, everybody. All right.
Appreciate it. All right. Engedi, and it is good to be in Michigan, except for that guy right there in the gray sweatshirt. The book Frisbee came 1.5 feet over him, and he was like, yeah, I don't want it. I watched him. It was that far off your head. It was this. He's like, no. Anyway, so you know what? You're getting a free one anyway. You stop by that table afterwards, and if I don't see you personally and take a picture with you, you're dead to me. All right? Well, he won't show up. Watch. He goes, I still don't want a book. I'd love to get to know you. That's a great way to start our time together. If you've been married for more than 25 years in a row, would you please stand and remain standing? More than 25 years. Yeah, look around the room. Stay standing. Stay standing. More than 30 years, stay standing. The rest of you may be seated. 35, 40, 45. Where are we at? I just see one couple. No, look at the greeters are coming in. Wait for us. How long have y'all been married? 50, like right on the button. 50? How about behind you? How many? 27? 47. All right, 50 have it. Anybody beat 50? All right, let's hear it for 50 years of marriage. I want you afterwards to swing by with my friend right here and pick up Fun Loving You. It's a couple jumping up and down on a trampoline, so I want you to promise me you'll try that pretty soon. My favorite, I love talking to my senior friends. I pastor in Branson, Missouri, so I pastor a lot of senior adults. And we were at an event years ago, a couple married 70 years. They were there with their kids married 50 years. And I asked him, what's the secret to have a marriage go 70 years? And no lie, he yelled up, don't die. And I thought, that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Hey, if you've been married less than 25, would you stand and remain standing? And you'll notice that no one applauds for you. Everywhere I go, no one applauds. You've done nothing. You've accomplished nothing. Hey, stay. If you've been married less than 20, stay standing. The rest of you may be seated. Less than 15, 10, 5, 3, 2. My friend standing up. You've been married less than a year, remain standing. The rest of you may be seated. Did you come to the right? He just tried to sit down and she said, We've been married less than a year. Listen, I've just decided you get one of every book I got out there. How about that? How long have y'all been married? 8 months? 2? Can anybody beat 2 months? Let's hear it for 2 months on the front row at Date Night Comedy. I didn't bring it, but I have a book called From Anger to Intimacy. You won't need it till next month, but I'm gonna send it to you. I want you to have it. It is a good book. Well, it's great to be in Michigan because my flight got canceled out of Springfield, Missouri today, so I drove 12.5 hours to get here, and no one stopped me at the border. So I wanna say thank you, Michigan. I think you got a bad rap over the last year. I'm in Missouri. I get up all during the pandemic. I would get up in the morning, I'd turn on and find out what's the governor of Florida saying today, what's the governor of California saying today, and then your governor came in third. And I looked at my wife one day, about 6 months into the pandemic, I go, I don't even know what our governor looks like. But we've got these other ones. I in Missouri, so we're a red state, and there wasn't a lot of compliance throughout the pandemic. I'm just gonna say that. But I was one pastor. Nope, not gonna ruin date night with politics. I'm telling you that right now. Well, let me ask, are you okay with political jokes? Because it was low-hanging fruit is what we call it in the biz last year. Low-hanging fruit. Anybody not want political jokes? Let me just see. What? I didn't hear it. What'd she say? Get over my jokes or over the pandemic? No, I'm gonna just tell you, I complied. I was trying to be right in the middle and being like, okay, because we had people, and probably like most churches, on crazy extremes. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna let people make decisions and honor all decisions. I was trying my hardest, but they said close down. We closed down the church for 8 weeks, and they said you can't have more than 10 people meeting at a time anywhere. And so for 8 weeks, I preached to a room, 780 seats, 10 people spread out, wearing masks. It felt like a Joe Biden campaign rally. It was brutal. Nope, stop it. No clapping on that. Done. No, you will not do that. I am gonna offend both sides tonight as much. And you're like, I thought this was about marriage. We'll get there in a minute, but let me finish this very first part because I'm working out some things. And then they said, wear a mask. I wore a mask. I just kept my mouth shut. I wore a mask, did what I was told, tried to encourage people to honor, and I was trying my best to love our community and teach people to honor. Then they said social distancing. We did that. And then they raised capacities. We did that. I did everything until January. I was quiet and submissive until January. When I read in the Washington Post that research showed the anal swab was more effective than the nasal swab in detecting COVID, and that's when I said, it's time to speak up. I don't know about y'all, but that's my line right there. I got very vocal, and I remember first thing I read this, I told my wife, we're not gonna start anal swabbing our citizens, all right? I have some serious lines, and that's one of them. I read the article. I had all sorts of questions. You know, a good article, I don't know if we have any journalists here, but a good article you should read, and all of your questions, most of your questions get answered. Way more questions at the end of this article than when I went into it. Like my first question was, how far are we going in with this swab? The last one tickled your brain. What are we tickling with this one? My next question was, I don't even think they thought through drive-through testing. I don't think that's even been brought up. We can't do this in a car. And I grew up independent, fundamental, premillennial, King James Version only Baptist. I'm not allowed to take this test. I'm gonna stop because I see a couple people going, I'm not into this show. Not into this right now. And let me just tell you, if you're not laughing at any of these jokes, you're gonna pass the anal test with flying colors. You're gonna do great. You are. You're gonna do a good job. So just, okay, that's it for political jokes. We're not gonna do those anymore. We're gonna talk about marriage, love, relationships, and Michigan. And I brought a picture of my wife. We are gonna be celebrating in October 25 years of marriage. I met her on a blind date at Liberty University, and the night I met my wife, I just looked at my buddy and I said, I'm gonna marry this woman. He said, you can't decide that. I said, I already did. And I'll never forget walking into the kitchen of her 6'2", full-blooded Minnesotan Norwegian father. She's from Austin, Minnesota. And I said, I'd like permission to marry your daughter. And he said in his thick Norwegian accent, you betcha. I said, but only under one condition. I had just graduated Liberty. She had a year left. I said, we'd like to get married before her senior year. I said, and I'll only do that if you allow me to pay for her senior year of college. To which he said, you betcha. And I'm an advocate for young marriage. I believe you can get married and grow up together. And I'm not for rushing marriage, but I'm for challenging the unnecessary delay of it. And I'll never forget, and it still happens to this day, but people would just push back on this idea. You're 22 and 21. Isn't this too soon to get married? I go back to Liberty and speak, and I love going on college campuses and speaking. I get pushed back all the time. You know, bro, how did you get married at 22 and 21 and afford to pay for a senior year of college? I said, I had multiple jobs. That's how that worked. And I'm like, bro, I can't tell you how many times bro, I can't afford to get married. And I'm like, bro, I would believe that if you weren't holding a venti caramel macchiato in your right hand and an iPhone 11 in your left. You need to start thinking Folgers and flip phones, bro. And you haven't started marriage right till you get your parents' hand-me-down mattress. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? The dip already built in. You get in, you roll to the center. That's a good way to start marriage. 25 years. I'm married to a strong woman. Would you raise your hand if you're married to a strong woman? I always love that. Do you want me to raise my hand right now? It feels like a little bit of a trap. Raise your hand if you love being married to a strong woman. I love being married to a strong woman. My wife, she is a passionate woman with everything everything is passion. And we don't take strolls through the neighborhood. Everything is about getting her steps. And I'm like, she walks me and the dog before sunset every night. And we can't just stroll for 30 or 45 minutes. We are getting to where we're going. And she'll ask me, are you squeezing your cheeks together? Let's get this thing going. And I'm like, listen. But that's her passion. I can come home from a bad day at church. And she's like, hey, how was your day, babe? I'm like, kind of a rough day. And she's like, fine, let's quit, move to Africa, be missionaries full time. Wow. That escalated real fast. I think we should sleep on it. We should slow this down quite a bit. She loves this show on television, Chip and Joanna Gaines, Fixer Upper. And I've said, if I ever meet Chip Gaines, I'm gonna punch him right in the face. I hate that man and everything he stands for. Because I come home and Amy's looking at a wall in the dining room. I'm like, hey, what's going on? She goes, I think after dinner, let's get rid of this wall. I'm like, what? That's not what Christian people do. I only randomly take out walls. I got online quick. I found a term to save our marriage. The term is load bearing. Every wall in our home is load bearing. Like, should we call a general contractor? You don't need to call a general contractor. They're all load bearing. You take down one, the whole house comes down. You can't do it. We finally got Chip and Joanna Gaines off the air and replaced them with Marie Kondo with Tidying Up. Nope, who's clapping? Stop the clapping. I'm not a big fan of hers either. I walk in the closet, and Amy's holding a sweater one day. This is like in February, after the show came out on Netflix in January. I go, what are you doing? She goes, I'm asking it the question, do you spark joy? I go, what if it doesn't? I'm supposed to kiss it. I'm not making any of this up. Say thank you, put it in the donate discard pile. And she goes, I'd like us, to do this. And I believe I speak on behalf of men worldwide. When we ain't asking about our jeans, do these spark joy? Do they fit? Do they smell? 2 questions that Pat, but where does Amy start with her? My wife has 2 love languages, acts of service and quality time, which means I serve her for long periods of time. That's how I show my wife love. But in the middle of those 2 love languages is decluttering. She has a core value that says, if you haven't used it in a while, you don't need it. And no, this is not an amening type event. We don't like this. My father-in-law, my Norwegian father-in-law, she's like, is he serious? I don't know, he's a pastor. He can't be ordained. My father-in-law's 73, still as Norwegian as they come. He's gotten to this place where he sits at the end. When we have 14 people around the big farm table at Christmas or Thanksgiving, he's just eating away. If something is said politically or happening in the community that he disagrees with, that we're talking about at the table, he used to really go on and on and on, but this is all he does now. Wrong. There's no talking points, no follow-up. I always like to throw that out early because we always at church, say amen if you agree with something or preach. We've never given people the opportunity in groups like this to disagree. So I say anything you don't like tonight, you just yell up, wrong. You have my permission to do that, and you can carry that into the weekend here at Engedi. And so where does Amy always start with her decluttering passion? She starts in the garage. Whenever she watches one of these episodes, she gets the garbage can on wheels, she flips the lid back, and like a grocery cart around the garage, she's looking for stuff to throw away. And you have to get out there. You have to be with her when she's doing it. She'll hold up one item at a time and go, hey, are you still using this? I'm like, babe, that's a hammer. She goes, when's the last time you used it? And she'll toss it. Hold up the battery charger for the car. I haven't seen you use this thing ever. throw it away. And I go, no, we'll need that. It's an emergency thing. She goes, if we need one, we'll just run and get one. I go, that's the point. We ain't running anywhere if you throw that in that garbage right now. When she's in declutter mode, I'm running around the house to the kids going, save your stuff. If you want it, you better hide it right now. My daughter took the 12-and-a-half-hour trip with me today. She's at the book table. This is my daughter, Corinne. She's our pioneer girl. She's our, she loves knitting and crocheting, and she was crocheting and knitting the whole way up here. But not only that, she likes to get the animals and harvest the fur and spin the yarn. That's how big she's into. We don't spin deer yarn, but whatever it is. But this is a little fawn that a friend of ours had, Sugar. And this is my son, Carson. He loves deer, too. He's pretty passionate about deer. Now, I'm at 60 or 70 churches a year, and add that up over the years. I've had 3 pastors over the years tell me I cannot show that picture in their church. And I asked your pastor, can I show this? And he's like, are you kidding? That's like half the profile pictures of our congregation. Feel free. That was my son's first deer, 11-point buck. And he was 11 years old. And he drops this deer. I grew up outside of Chicago. I was born in Naperville, Illinois. And I'm passionate into fishing. Never grew up hunting. And so a friend of ours took Carson and I under his wing, taught us how to shoot. But Carson drops this deer, and he put us in a deer stand. He goes half a mile away. About an hour or two later, we drop this deer. We're creekside. I've caught nice fish in my life, but I've never had the adrenaline rush that day brought. We lost our minds down there creekside, high-fiving each other. So proud of you, son. After about 5 minutes, my son goes, Dad, what do we do now? What do we do? I'm like, I have absolutely no idea. But I think, according to the movie Red Dawn, you got to take a bite out of its heart. That's like the whole next step. And I'll yell, Wolverine. So that's my family. And so tonight, listen, my wife has a silent patriotic laugh. When she finds something funny, she places her hand over her heart. She leans forward, and nothing comes out. And it is my goal to get that laugh out of her as often as possible. And today, driving up here with my daughter, she loves to laugh. She's my firstborn. And just watching her laugh. And here's what I know. I think laughter has been missed over the last year. And 19th century preacher Henry Ward Beecher said, a person without a sense of humor is like a wagon without springs, jolted by every pebble on the road. A sense of humor makes all things tolerable. And it's so good to cope with this. And one of the things I want you to think about tonight as we go through enjoying life, enjoying marriage, prioritizing your marriage, and as we dig into some content, I want you to think about not being funny. That's what a lot of people make the mistake when they talk about adding humor into their marriage or into their relationship. They think, we got to start cracking jokes to each other. That's really not how it works. I don't get up in the morning and turn on a fog machine and go, ladies and gentlemen. That's not how it works. What we want you to find is your shared sense of humor. And every single couple in here has a shared sense of humor. Things that you find funny that maybe another individual or another couple wouldn't. Discover it, cultivate it, and if you want to start finding your shared sense of humor, stop trying to be funny and start looking for the funny, because it's all around you. It's everywhere. I was writing this chapter 3 in the book. I wrote a book called A Love That Laughs, all about laughter in marriage, and it came out 2 weeks before the pandemic. And I just really want to encourage you, if you're going to write a book on laughter, 2 weeks before a global pandemic is the perfect time. I've sold like 30, 40 copies of this bad boy in the last 15 months. But no, right, because we were moving into mourning. We were grieving through March and April and May, and then we got into the angry stage come summer, right? We went through a lot, and so I told Amy, I go, people aren't ready to laugh, but as we move through it, I'm like, this is really missing, and chapter 3 is all about discovering your shared sense of humor. And it's about how to find it all around you, the laughter all around you. And I meet once a month with a retired missionary in our church named Pat Kershaw. She's 86 years old. And she just so happened to be meeting with me on the day I was working on that on my laptop. And she sat down and she calls me preacher. And she goes, "What are you working on, preacher?" I said, I'm trying to help couples look for funny rather than being funny. And I'm working that through. I go, "Pat, have you seen anything funny lately?" She goes, "I saw it just yesterday while getting my mammogram up in Springfield." And I'm like, every pastor needs a good mammogram story from one of their senior members. I go, "Pat, what was so funny at your mammogram?" She goes, "Well, it was at Mercy Hospital. And it's a Catholic hospital, and the nuns, they got verses all up and down the hallways. Ted, what verse do you think they have hanging on the mammogram machine at Mercy Hospital?" I said, "I have absolutely no idea." She said, 2 Corinthians 4:8, "For we are hard pressed on every side." But not crushed. That's the whole verse. Now, who thinks that's a nun with a good sense of humor right there? I think that's a nun with a good sense of humor. So how to find this? I love the Song of Solomon, Ecclesiastes. I love all of the wisdom poetry in Scripture. And the reason I love doing nights like tonight is because I love Ecclesiastes 9, 7 through 9. It's in the middle of, let me give you the bookends of Ecclesiastes. Chapter 1, life is hard. Chapter 12, then you die. Chapter 1, generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. In Psalm 90 and verse 10, we read that 70 years we have upon this earth, 80 if we're strong, but those years are filled with sorrow and anguish, meaning life is challenging, life is difficult, life is a grind. And it doesn't last a long time, 70, 80 years, ordinary lifespan. You get to the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 says that your body eventually finds its way into the grind. But in the middle of life is hard and then you die, you get Ecclesiastes 9, 7 through 9. And it reads, "Go, eat your food with gladness and drink your sparkling cider with a joyful heart. For now God favors what you do. Always be clothed in white and always anoint your head with oil." And look what it says in verse 9. This is my mission statement for marriage. "Endure life with your wife all your miserable days." I love going to churches when it's not on the screen or Bibles are closed, and I'll, with a preacher voice on a Sunday morning, go, "Endure life with your wife all your miserable days." And all throughout, you'll get, It's good. That's good. And I get to say, that's not what it says. It doesn't say endure life with your wife all your miserable days. It says enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. All your meaningless days, for this is your lot in life. And here's the grind again. It's all throughout Ecclesiastes. In your toilsome labor under the sun. And the word toilsome there means grueling. And I want you to see in verse 9 that your spouse is not the grind. God gave you your spouse to go through the grind of life with. And I think we make this big mistake where we become opponents in marriage rather than teammates. But I don't want to look at Amy as my opponent. I don't want to look at her as the grind. I want to see her as a gift, someone that I get to go through the trials and the difficulties and the challenges of life. You don't have to choose between wife and life. I want guys to hear this. I tell the guys in our church all the time, stop looking for greener grass. Where there's greener grass, there's a septic leak. You need to stay home and water your own lawn. And let me just tell you, who here met online? Let me just see the hands. Probably a lot of folks in here. Met online. It's a great way to meet. Look, he did. I don't know if she did, but he's raising his hand. Did you guys meet online? There's nothing wrong. I wish we were in church. Hey, who met online? And some couples are like, I don't know, because seniors are going, is that legal? Yeah, 100% legal. You know why? Because how you meet is not the big deal. It's what you do after you meet. Every time I say that, you see online couples going, that's right, right. There's traditional ways of meeting. There's online ways. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you met on eHarmony, Match.com, FarmersOnly.com, Ancestry.com. I don't care how you meet. It's what you do after you meet that matters. It's the decisions you make. Why? Oh, I love this. Marital satisfaction is based on factors and skills couples can do something about in any season or stage of life. When I'm counseling or coaching a couple, they'll often want me to help them out of the season or the stage that they're in. And guess what? Like last year, a global pandemic. I couldn't get anybody out of a global pandemic. I could do my part in it, but I couldn't get us out of it. It was a difficult season we were all going through together. If you came in here tonight with a 3, a 5, and a 7-year-old, when you leave here, you're gonna have a 3, a 5, and a 7-year-old. Can't do much about that stage, but what we can talk about are the factors and skills that lead to high levels of marital satisfaction. Marital satisfaction is based on factors and skills couples can do something about. I have a terrible time with autocorrect. I don't know if anybody has this. I type so fast and expect autocorrect to keep up. And I was at First Baptist Dallas. And here's the point. The point that I was trying to make, and I sent out to Dallas, but I was able to hold it back. This tweet almost went out inviting people to a date night. Hey, join us tonight where we're going to explore the factors and skills necessary to achieve high levels of marijuana satisfaction. And then I tagged it with, let's roll. And if you type in M-A-R-I, marital is not the first thing that pops up. I'm going to tell you, it is marijuana. And I was at another church in Prescott, Arizona, and they asked me to teach on the 6 levels of communication. I love talking about communication. And I did tweet this out to all of Prescott. Join us tonight for a fun date night where we'll be exploring the 6 levels of communism. And I went through the whole date night. I didn't correct it or nothing. I don't even know what the 6 levels are. I'm pretty sure level 1 is Bernie Sanders. I don't know for sure. Okay, I said no more political jokes. We're done with the political jokes. That's just a political joke. So let's talk about those factors and skills. But here's what's very important. Next big point. What was natural early on, you must be intentional with later on. So married 2 months. There's a lot of things we'll talk about tonight that's like breathing, right? You don't have to be intentional with physical touch. You don't have to be intentional with humor, spending quality time together, because it's just like breathing. But after you've been married 10, 20, 30 years, you have to become intentional with it. I was at a church, it's a true story, that put this on the lower thirds, and autocorrect got them. I lost the whole crowd trying to make this point because it said, what was natural early on must become international later on. And I'm here to tell you, you do not need to leave the country to have a great marriage. You can do it right. You don't even have to leave the state. You probably can anyway. Are you allowed to leave? You're allowed to leave now, aren't you? I don't know. You haven't been in the news lately, so I don't know what's going on up here at Engedi. So let's be intentional with this, right? Because enjoying life together is a decision. It's a choice. It's not an outcome. It's not something that you wait for or that you hope you find. You go after it. You choose it. And Amy and I got to admit, when we were first married and getting the church started, we founded Woodland Hills about 20 years ago. We're in our 20th year. Our mentor, Dr. Gary Smalley, was one of the founding elders as well. He went to be with the Lord about 5 years ago. Marriage and family pastor and expert for 40 years. He took us out to lunch one day and he said, I just want you guys to take everything in your marriage that's just irritating, frustrating, annoying with one another, and I want you to find a way to have fun with it. That was his passion in life. He said, I want you to choose to enjoy life together. And he goes, don't go out in the car after this lunch and come up with 30 things you're gonna change. Do one. And my wife, who's the strong woman I just told you about, we got out in the car after that lunch, and my wife, no lie, she looked at me and she said, okay, marriage boy. That's her little nickname for me when we're working through some things. And I'm gonna tell you, all the stories I'm about to give you from our marriage and other marriage, my wife is the best at this. Being intentional, choosing it and deciding it. And some of you are gonna push back on this going, it can't be this easy. Just deciding and then you went, yeah, it is this easy. It is. She said, and she looked right at me, she goes, tell me something that's bothering you right now in our marriage, something that's frustrating you. And then I'm gonna show you at this very moment, we will never be frustrated with it again. She goes, because we're gonna have fun with it. And so I wanted to start easing into it, right? My brother back there in the gray hoodie? Yeah, I just wanna make sure I was easing into it. But we had just had this happen, and so I told her, I said, hey babe, There's not a lot of adventure left for men in the world anymore. So would you please let me find my own parking space? Has that been an issue there? This is so perfect. We literally are gonna be brothers for life. I don't even know how to explain this to you. You're getting one of every book I own. That's fantastic. I said, babe, I wanna find my own part. I wanna do it all by myself. I wanna provide it for my family. Let me have this one little thing. You've been there. Can you think of anything more grind of life? And you've been married a little while, right? And everything. You're trying to tell a story. Do you remember last Tuesday? It wasn't Tuesday, it was Wednesday. Okay, no, nobody cares. The day of the week doesn't matter. But raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. I know you're like, yes. And then the parking lot. This is how stupid it got. Just tune the rest of this out, 2-monthers. I want you to, you're not dealing with this right now. We would pull into a lot. And she'd go, right there, 3 spaces from the door. And I'd be like, we would drive past that space, 20 spaces down and pull in. And this is when you've been married a little while. You don't even need to say anything anymore. It's your eyes are saying everything. And I pull in, and there's such a pride and arrogance coming out of me. And I look at her like, and my eyes say, we're walking. And her eyes say, you are a stubborn, stubborn man. And we would be frustrated. And sometimes just 10, 15 minutes. And why? Is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard, fighting over? And she knows. Now watch. So I told her that. I said, let me find them. Just let me find them. Just let's be crazy in the parking lot. Let's just pull in there and you act like I'm in charge. I'm driving, I'm gonna find us an awesome parking space. And she said, no lie, she goes, game on. This was, it's going on 20 years ago now, probably 17, 18 years. Can you believe this is true? 100% true, raising my hand on it. We've never been frustrated with one another in a parking lot again. And my wife gets all the credit for that. Because the rule's still the same. She even looks at a spot, disqualifies that spot. I'm not pulling into that spot. So the scenario hasn't changed. It's her response and my response to it. And this still happens to this day. Now when we pull into a parking lot and I find the space, right? She leans over and she starts massaging my bicep. And she'll say, you did this all by yourself. I'm so proud of you. You know, she's gone to, I don't know how, she's gone to so many levels with this. She knows I love those Andes candies that they give you at the end of an Olive Garden meal. I don't know if they're like crack to me. I love those Andes candies. Well, this is years ago, she bought a bag of them, and she keeps them in her purse now for when I do something good. And the first time I got handed one was in a parking lot after I found the space. And I can't explain it, but I ripped that thing out of her hand. I'm opening it up, and I realize, my wife just gave me a treat. She is rewarding my good. I am a dog. Listen, you just got to go with it and enjoy the whole moment. This was happening. I don't know if this, let me ask 2 months. I mean, this is going to be gold right here. Has she, while driving down the road, asked you questions? I haven't even set up the premise yet. Let me get the premise set up here real quick. Has she asked you questions about just random stuff in life, thinking that you have expertise on it? Has she done this? And you've had moments where you're like, what? How would you think? When we were first married, we would be driving through a construction zone, and my wife, no lie, as serious as can be, she would go, hey, babe. I go, yeah. What are they doing right here? I think we got that. I wasn't involved in any of the meetings on this project. I don't know. But you know what my new husband brain was thinking? She wanted information. Now watch this. I'm gonna let all the husbands answer this for us. Guys, is she looking for information? No. She doesn't want information. She doesn't want solutions. She's looking for connection. That's why she's asking that. We'll be watching a movie. And my wife watching a movie is press play, surf Pinterest, read a magazine, do some other things going on, and then something will happen, and she'll be like, whoa, hey, what just happened? And I'll be like, oh. There was an explosion on the space station, and a big piece of metal came off, and it busted the space shuttle. She will ask me with a straight face, what are they gonna do? I'm not an astronaut. I have no idea. But I think if we watch the rest of the movie, we're gonna get a lot of our questions answered. So I had to return the favor of the parking lot because now this is 25 years later. She does it all the time. I wish she was with me today because I drove through some construction. I gotta be honest with you, I was against the infrastructure bill until I hit Chicago. And if you've been on 80 from Chicago through Indiana, and it's only about that big on the maps on my deal, but it's a lot of construction. I'm 100% for the infrastructure bill, by the way, now. But now, when we go through construction zones, while driving, I don't wait for her to ask. I lean over, I turn into the construction foreman. You know what we're doing here, Aim? I told him, rip it up, boys. We're going 12 lanes, not 6. I'll roll down the window and talk to guys as I drive by them, as though I'm in charge of them. Listen, look at me. You want a great marriage? Just start making stuff up. She doesn't want information, she wants connection. That is so, and now here's what's awesome about it. I had a guy, he said, this is it. In comedy, if your favorite comedians, whether Brian Regan, Jim Gaffigan, when they use the callback well, it's they bring up a punchline later in the set, and they bring it up, oh, it's so fantastic, off of a new premise, it usually gets a bigger laugh. I thought, why aren't we doing that in marriage more? Why don't we turn all of our conflicts into callbacks? Every time Amy massages my bicep, that's a callback. Right? And we laugh and have a good time with it. We're discovering and moving into our shared sense of humor. Every time she walks into the family room with a Dove dark chocolate and gives it to me, and you're such a good boy, come here, Teddy. That's our shared sense of humor. We're not tearing each other down. We're having fun with it. Every time I turn in the construction foreman, it's our callback. I'm convinced if your marriage relationship is stale right now, get your list of callbacks going. Lean into them. Develop them. Make them more. One guy told me, he said, my wife's same like Ted, she loves me fixing things around the house. I was walking out to work and she said, hey, the master bath toilet's running. And he goes, oh, okay, yeah. Well, he forgot to do it on his way out and gets to work. And she calls an hour after he's at work and goes, hey, hero. That's like her little name for him when he's getting a realignment. And he goes, yeah, you didn't fix the toilet. I told you the toilet in the master bath was running. And he goes, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Go in there, take the lid off. You're gonna see the chains wrapped down around that ball. Reach down in there, and she goes, ew, disgusting. I'm not reaching in there. And he said, honey, it's water out of the tap. It's clean water. Convinces her to reach in. Right before she reaches in, this is all over the phone, she goes, oh, am I gonna get electrocuted? And he came up with the best answer I've ever heard. He said, honey, you gotta unplug the toilet first. I didn't know you were doing this with the toilet plugged in. He said, that's become a callback for us. Now when she asks me to fix anything, I say, unplug it until I get home. That's their fun little way of doing it. Oh man, you know, we realized early on, even physical intimacy, right? When a couple's newlyweds, you know, it's natural early on. They're touching each other a lot. But then something changes. And guys, we have to be intentional with what was natural early on. And I'm gonna just give you my family of origin. So my dad is from Pennsylvania Dutch, Mennonite, Amish country. My mom grew up Irish Catholic in Illinois. So an Irish Catholic meets Pennsylvania Dutch, Mennonite, Amish. And they raise us in an independent, fundamental, premillennial, King James Version only church. It's my family of origin. I'm just letting you know and letting you in on a little secret. My dad decided, you know when would be a good time to have that talk with Ted? Is on the day of his wedding. We didn't talk about sex or sexual intimacy in the home that I grew up in, but my dad decided when we were walking through the parking lot of La Quinta, which means next to Denny's, so we were walking to Denny's. My dad asked, do you have any questions? Like, Dad, I'm 22. I go, you could see it. But then my aunt and uncle from Lisle, Illinois, they were at the wedding, and this was now in Fremont, Nebraska. My uncle said, hey, I can't really give you your gift at the wedding. Will you come up to the hotel room, and your aunt and I would like to give you the gift? I said, sure. I'm 22 years old, getting married that day, and I walk up, and he hands me this oblong-shaped thing, and I'm holding it, and he goes, hey, open it. We need you to open it now. And I open it, and it's this beautiful bell. It's a brass bell with a wooden handle. And I'm like, this is awesome. What is it? And he goes, we call it the intimacy bell. And I said, what do you do with it? And he said, Ted, anytime you want to be intimate with Amy, all you got to do is ring the bell. And did somebody say wrong? Good move, man. Good move. Good move. You have a much better family of origin. But this was after he said, it's anytime you want to be intimate, you ring the bell. My response was, oh, okay. Well, let me tell you, the bell don't work. That's not how it works at all. I was working with a couple years ago, and he said, why is our bedroom so cold? And I was kind of teaching him this, what was natural earlier, I need to be intentional with later on. What are you doing to turn your wife on? I'm not making this up. He said, well, every now and then, I plaster myself up against the shower door. What? You do what? I said, what part of her walking in and going, whoa! Is that when you figured out that was a bad idea? That was a terrible idea. I said, can I help you in turning your wife on? Stop doing that. And your wife needs 12 non-sexual touches a day. That's what research tells us. A non-sexual touch. She needs 12 of them a day, and it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. It's the hair over the ear, a hand on the small of the back, a hand on the thigh, hand holding, kiss on the forehead, kiss on the cheek. Do that. Do you ever call her during the day? Just to shoot the breeze, see how she's doing, see if everything's fine? Call her. No purpose other than to connect. Simply say, tell me what you've been doing. Tell me everything. When she's done, say, tell me more. I said, and then when you get home, do something domestic. I have found that the sound of the dishwasher turns my wife on. I can't explain it. You don't even need dishes in it. You just turn the thing on. You spray some 409 around the house. I'm just trying to help. This is natural. You don't even need to listen. Just tune this out. But take notes because you're going to need to be intentional with it later on. And then after you start having kids, guess what? You really got to be intentional with this. And the nights that you've decided, hey, tonight's the night. We're going to spend some time together. Guys, if that's been the decision that you and your wife have made together, okay, you take the lead on removing distractions. You know, and I got a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old in my home. And then from the time they're very small, I mean, let's say they're 7, 9 years old, I was running around the house on Tonight's the Night going, stay away from your mother. Leave her alone. Hey, where's mom? Stop, go, stop. I don't even want you talking to her. Go to your room. What? You're grounded. For how long? I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes? Who are we kidding? 5 to 7 minutes. You are grounded for 5 to 7 minutes. Amy will come out of the bedroom. What's going on? You stay focused. I haven't run the ball down the field all day to be fumbling it on the 5-yard line. This is important. important stuff. See, I grew up in a home that taught me how to honor purity, but didn't teach me how to honor marriage. I wasn't prepared for it going in. No one taught me any of this stuff. I got all this from Gary 20 years ago. He said, you know, once you start this church and once you start your family and whatever your job is right now, or even if you're going into empty nest season, or maybe you're just getting your relationship started, as you buy a new house, maybe you move states, I don't know, as you have kid and then another kid and then another kid, right? That seasons and stages changing. And I hear this all the time. One marriage and family expert puts it this way. Over the course of your marriage, you're going to be married to 5 to 7 different people. Why? Because the seasons and stages of life change us. They change us. When I hear a couple married 15, 20 years in a marriage intensive or in counseling tell me, she's not the same person I married. Well, of course she's not. She's had children. You have a mortgage. You have bills. He's changed. He's changed. And this isn't what I signed up with. See, if you don't focus on the factors and skills and you stay focused on the seasons and stages, you'll become disillusioned. You'll begin to disconnect. And maybe some of you are there right now. Maybe laughter's your step forward to going, man, we haven't done this for a while. And I'm watching, I always love, and the lights are up just enough for me to connect with the couples. And I can read it, like I've been watching you back there. Is your leg okay? She's been doing that the whole time. I see you. You're not hiding behind that pole. I see you, and I see your husband. And I love at events like this, men don't care what they look like when they laugh. I mean, we just let it all out. But ladies, for some reason, will go, mm. And I've seen it like crazy. You want to really go, and you ladies, you gotta let the laughter out. You can't hold it in. You hold it in, it turns to cellulite. Get that laughter out there. But I'm telling you, this is so important to discuss. So important to prioritize in your marriage. Humor, laughter, physical touch, intimacy. Amy and I prioritize it. We've had something for years called the crock pot candle. It's based off that old adage that says men are microwaves, women are crock pots. And when the candle's lit, it means tonight's the night. And we light it, we have fun with it all day. And I always have guys come up to the book table after events like this. Hey, where do I get one of those candles? And I'm like, it's not a special candle. It's go to the Yankee Candle Workshop. It's just a normal candle. Just get a candle, call it the crock pot candle, light it and have fun with it. Like, because I hear from a lot of couples, we prepared all day and then something happened at the end of the day. Or halfway through the day, man, it just ran out of steam. I think you got to have the conversation. I don't know. How many of you are going out after this time? Maybe getting something to eat. Can I just see your hand? Okay, start the conversation. Maybe in a whisper if you're in a restaurant. But begin to ask the question. We realized a lot of couples in our church weren't having this conversation. They just weren't talking about sexual intimacy. And so we created a menu. You can download it on our church website for free, or it's all 52 questions are in this book. And we taught on the Song of Solomon one Sunday, and that's Fun Loving You. And when we got done teaching, we had these menus at the door, and we gave every married couple, a 2-hour burning candle. And we said, we want you to go home sometime this week, light this candle, and have a 2-hour conversation about intimacy. And I pastor in the Ozarks, and there's no other place I love pastoring in the Ozarks. And the next week, an Ozarkian Bubba came up to me and said, hey, pastor, yeah, I found out you light that candle under a ceiling fan. It only takes about 45 minutes to get through that conversation. Well, that was not the point. The point was to slow down and have a conversation. Some of you might not feel safe in this area of your marriage right now. That's important to talk about. And so what I always encourage couples to do is to each of you look at the list individually first. And circle questions you don't feel safe answering. That's very fair. We want safety. Safety is key to sexual intimacy. When you come back together, look at the ones that are fair game. We call the first 10 questions appetizers, because we believe almost everybody can answer them. It's like I just shared with you my family of origin story. That's all in there. Just safe questions. But then it gets into, frequency. It's a big question with couples. My favorite question I've ever been asked on our church website is, how often should an evangelical couple have sex? And I just responded back, compared to other world religions, I don't know. But I think you should increase the frequency. Performance. Talk about creativity. What can we do in the bedroom without bringing anything from the world into the bedroom? What can we do to be creative? Anyway, to get that conversation started, enjoying life together, because I think this is so important. It's the last thing I want to talk to you about in prioritizing marriage. In Genesis 2:24, we have this great verse that most people think is just a marriage verse, but I'm here to tell you it's every bit a parenting verse as well. And it says this: for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother. Okay, that's key. That's the first step. That's parenting. It doesn't say a child or an adolescent. It says a man, meaning it is my job as a parent to make sure my children leave home as adults, not on a journey to become one. I really want them to get that and understand that. Before they're united in marriage and become one flesh with their spouse, like I want them leaving. It's not the job of college to turn my child into an adult. That's my job. It's not the job of an RA or a professor or even their first job, their HR manager. That I get the opportunity to prepare my children for the responsibility of work and relationships. And I'm here to tell you, you'll hear a lot of people say, money is the number one reason couples divorce. I challenge that because I work with couples all the time, and especially with young couples, I'm seeing this thing called prolonged adolescence, which I define as too much privilege, not enough responsibility. It's taking marriages down. This is why we tell our kids, we've taught our kids Genesis 2:24 from the time they were like 4 and 6. And you can ask my son to this day at 16, what's your dad's definition of maturity according to Genesis 2:24? And Carson will go, I will not be with mom and dad forever, so plan accordingly. That's right. We've told him for years, we love you. You're a welcomed addition to this home, but you are not the center of it. We love you. You're a welcomed addition to this home. You're not the center of it. And we got big plans after you leave. And they'll look at me, and they used to do this as kids. Well, what are you going to do? Well, first of all, we're going to Disney World. That's how we're kicking this whole thing off. It's a real important question to ask, because we've talked so much about enjoying marriage and enjoying marriage in the midst of the grind. Don't turn your spouse into the grind. Let me ask a question. Do you have a marriage worth repeating? Do you have a marriage you want your children to have one day? Grandma, grandpa, mom, dad? Do you want your children and grandchildren to have the marriage you have right now? My son and I, we love watching YouTube clips. It's one of our favorite things to do. And when he's 5, we watch that German Coast Guard clip. If you haven't seen it, go home tonight, type in youtube.com, type in German Coast Guard. It's a 30-second clip. It's fantastic. Guys being trained day 1 on the German Coast Guard, and a mayday comes in. Mayday, mayday, we are sinking, we are sinking. Hello? This is the German Coast Guard. Mayday, mayday, we are sinking, we are sinking. What are you sinking about? My son thinks that's the funniest clip. He's 5 years old. He falls over in laughter. And a few weeks later, we're driving down the road, and I start singing a hymn from my childhood that goes like this. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore. And from the back seat, I heard, hey, what were you singing about? I looked at my wife. I said, they see everything. They hear everything. They forget nothing. And then they repeat. So I want to ask again, do you have a marriage worth repeating? We're in an emotional time in our home. Our daughter goes off to college. Firstborn goes off to college this fall. And we're dear friends. I love this girl. And when she was 5, she was like taking over the home. It was getting bad. Like mom and I'd be talking, and she would walk into the room. You know what I'm talking about? Who here has a 5-year-old or somewhere in the vicinity? You know what I'm talking about? It's like, why are you still talking? I'm in the room. I was getting worn out with it. And so I took her one day. I put her up on the breakfast bar. I put my hand on her heart, and I said, Corinne May Cunningham, I just want you to know something. You are not the queen of this house. This house has only one queen, and it ain't you. And she looked at me with those eyes that said, we'll see. You know, it's like I gave her a challenge. That's not the point of this exercise and discipline at all. The next day, this is not a lie. The next day, she told my wife, there's room enough in this house for 2 queens. I put her back on the breakfast bar, which was really effective the day before, and I put my hand on her heart. I said, Corinne May, One day a little boy's gonna say the words to you, I love you. And you need to know something. He's a liar. He's of his father, the devil, and a child of darkness. I need you to. No, I didn't say that to my daughter. I said, Corinne May, true. I'm gonna one day stand at the back of a church with you, looking down the aisle at some pervert. No, I didn't say that to my daughter. I would never say that to my 5-year-old daughter. I said, Corinne, I'm not walking you down the aisle until I know he loves you as much as me. And then I forgot, I should have done this the day before. I said, you're not my queen, but you're my princess. And what that means is one day I'm gonna walk you down the aisle. This is the second half of Genesis 2:24. I'm gonna walk you down the aisle to give you a way to become another man's queen. But you're my princess. And here's part of my parenting strategy, and please don't overlook this in your marriage. Part of my parenting strategy is I wanna show you every day, Corinne, to the best of my ability, how a queen should be treated. I'm not gonna be perfect at it, but I want you to get it. I want you to understand it. What are the ages of your kids? 5 and 3. Great ages. And they're still gonna be 5 and 3 when you get home tonight. Okay, but I encourage you to have a coronation service right now. There's another fun thing that I brought. I love these. Amy and I created these family devos, and they're a little bit different than like a children's Bible. A little bit more, I'm gonna just say aggressive. We'll just say they're a little more aggressive. But it's like hooked on phonics for the Bible. When we had done the children's Bible multiple times, and I was like, you know what, Amy, we've done this. They got these stories down. There's so much more in Scripture I want them to learn. If I see one more picture of Noah petting a zebra, I'm gonna stab myself in the neck with a fork. I want them to learn something else. And she goes, okay, what do you want to do? And this was like on accident we stumbled into it, and this outsells any book I've ever written because parents see the need to get Scripture in the heart of their kids. And so a lot of what I've been talking about tonight, and it's A to Z, and it's from the Scripture, critters, animals, fun things. I'm gonna give you this set. But part of wanting my kids to leave home with the responsibility, it was the A. I don't walk around with a 16 and an 18-year-old with flashcards anymore. But there was a lesson, 2-word lesson, Scripture, 2-3 minutes of a devotional time and questions. And we know the ant, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider his ways and be wise. And we would talk about hard work. The B, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul, healthy to the body. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. We talk about less stuff and why we become materialistic. The dog, I always love that one. What's the dog? Corinne would go, don't make me say it, say it. As a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats its folly. And I loved when they were 3 and 5. Hey, do we allow mistakes in this home? Yes, we allow mistakes. What do we try to avoid at all costs? It's the dog, right? We don't want to make the same mistake over and over and over. We want to learn from our mistakes. So I promise you, if you start with A every night and work up to the next letter, they will have 26 passages of Scripture down in a matter of months. But tonight, just for fun, the 5-year-old, a boy or girl? Boy, I want you, that'll be fun. You can start, you're gonna break the rules one night. You're gonna start with the V. You're gonna put him in bed, you're gonna fluff his pillow, okay? And you're gonna pull the V out, and this is his bedtime devotional. Proverbs 30:17, you comfortable, buddy? Okay, Proverbs 30:17 reads, the eye that mocks a father, that scorns an aged mother, will be pecked out by the ravens of the valley and will be eaten by the vultures. Night, night, buddy. I want you to sleep good, okay? Or if he's like, his eyes will be like, what? You read. You're gonna get my tone in this a little bit. Having your eyes pecked out by ravens and eaten by vultures is a word picture for death. Not listening to your parents, making fun of your dad, treating your mom as your servant will cause you much pain as an adult. The Bible is very clear that we're supposed to honor our parents even after we leave home. It's the first commandment with a promise. God gives us parents to prepare us for life in the world. When you listen to their instruction, it helps you throughout your entire life, and then we have great conversations. Here, come up, grab these, buddy. You don't even have to buy them tonight. That's yours. Will you do the vulture tonight with them? Okay, awesome. And then do a coronation service declaring her the queen. And here's why it's important. Where's a couple married 50 years? 50 years. Raise your hand. Do you know this couple with a 3 and a 5-year-old? Can you look? Do you guys know each other? Do you know that couple? What's that? You know the 47? I want you to meet somebody new, though. So tonight after this, get with that couple. Maybe you guys go on a double date. I mean, no, seriously, you need that couple married 50 years. You do. We say at our church, every marriage is a duet in need of great backup singers. And this is what I love about Engedi. Engedi desires to be a backup singer to your duet. If this is not your home church, you don't have a home church, and you're looking for someone to support your marriage, encourage your marriage, that's exactly why they're doing this. They want to encourage you on your journey. And I'm convinced a lot of you, listen, get your backup singers, and quick and soon. Now, best time ever to get them. And you don't need a choir. Amy and I, we have 2 couples that are our backup singers and have been for over 10 years. But I want you to go meet with them, spend some time with them, because you got antibacterial product hanging all over your purse. She used to let her kids pick up cigarette butts and chew on them. And her kids are fine. And then you need to go talk to him because he used to let his kids sleep in the back window of the car on long trips. Now you strap them in like you're launching them to outer space. They used to put, this is true, they used to put 3 kids in 1 playpen with only 1 toy. It's where we got the idea for cage fighting, isn't that true? When the kids messed up, they took the kids outside of the playpen, they turned the playpen upside down and put it on top of them, and their kids are fine. How many remember drinking out of garden hoses? Can I see your hand? Look, yeah, we all survived. We're fine. We're fine. How many here have ever been shot by a BB gun? Can I see your hand? Look around the room. I'm in Michigan. Hold those hands up for a second. I'm taking a picture. How many of you remember not only getting shot by your brother with a BB gun or a pellet gun, and your parents standing in the kitchen, watching out the window? You had no protective eyewear, no nothing. You're out, hey, stop. We would shoot little army men off the back fence in our neighborhood, and my brother would be like, go set them up, Ted. No, I'm not setting them up. Go set them up, I won't. Or I would take both guns with me, because man, the whole time, the back and forth, people whining about paintball, shut up. Paintball ain't nothing until you got a pellet that lives behind your knee for the rest of your life. That's when you know you had a good childhood. And then remember, Dad would come out and help you build a ramp to jump your bike over the ditch. You fall down, Dad would say, what? Good job, son, get up. Next time when you go by, try to grab the branch on that tree. Let the bike go flying. That's a good dad. We need more dads like that. How many remember when your dad couldn't figure out which one of you or your siblings was at fault, so he just spanked all of you? Anybody remember that? How many remember when your dad sent you upstairs to wait for your spanking? Anybody remember that? That was worse than the spanking. How many remember when your dad sent you upstairs to wait for your spanking, then he forgot that he sent you upstairs to wait for your spanking, and you and your brother were like, do we need to go down and remind him what we're doing up here? As soon as you had that thought, you heard Dad coming up the stairs. You heard the belt hitting every loop. My brother, he's 5 years older than me, he's stubborn. He'd sit on his side of the bed, oh, Dad ain't gonna break me. Like, are you kidding? I'm screaming on the backswing. I don't want. I'm going to California in a couple months. This is true, I gotta say this here. Is this being recorded? Nothing I say in Michigan can or used again, okay. The pastor said, Ted, love all your stuff. You're gonna have to leave the spanking jokes out. To which I said, if any state needs to talk about spankings right now, I think it's California. And maybe if you start whipping again, all your people wouldn't be moving to Texas. So I'm not going there in a couple months. That's how you lose a gig. That's what we call that in the biz, how you lose a gig. Anybody remember when your mom spanked you in the grocery store? Can I just see your hands? And like people gathered around to cheer her on. Does anybody remember that? I've been spanked in Kmart more times than I can count. That's why I flinched when I came in this place when I found out it was a Kmart. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get hit. How many of you remember when your mom would spank you with whatever she had handy? Anybody remember those days? Yes. Man. How many of you remember when your dad told you the bell on the ice cream truck meant they were out of ice cream? That's a good dad. That's a good dad. How many remember when your parents sent you out to play outside and they said, do not come home until the street lights turn on? Anybody remember that? Those were good days. I don't think kids go outside as much. How many of you, this one's really got me going. And again, we're talking about prioritizing your marriage and eradicating the kid-centered home. Sometimes people hear me and they come up at the book table afterwards. Did you say eradicate kids from the home? I said eradicate the kid-centered home. Tell your kids we love you. You're a welcomed addition to this home. We're glad you're here. But you can't revolve everything around. That's why date nights are so important. Every time you go out on a date, you are telling your children, our marriage is important. Every time you go on a trip together, just the two of you, you're telling your kids, our marriage is important. Every time you spend quality time in the home, 15, 20 minutes a day, you're telling your kids, our marriage is important. And that's why, I got to tell you one last one. How many of you are tired of, I want to be able to sign my kids up for sports without committing them to tournaments in Beijing? Anybody else struggling with this? It's like, he's 8, and I got a job. There's no lie, I went up to my son's karate studio, and the master came out so excited. Ted, I got good news. I go, what's that? He goes, we're going to the World Championships in Italy. I said, no, we're not. He said, give me one good reason why we can't go to the World Championships in Italy. I said, well, let me tell you, I've never been to Italy. And the first time I go to Italy will be with my wife, not my son's dojo karate kid. That ain't happening. Prioritizing marriage in the home. Will you esteem marriage as highly valuable? Will you enjoy life together? Will you prioritize your marriage? Will you get back to what was natural early on, words of high value? Get back to physical touch and intimacy and humor and laughter, and be intentional with it later on. I heard the story of a couple married 50 years, lying in bed one night, dozing off, both facing opposite directions, and she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. His hand on her shoulder. She was like, what is going on? His hand went down her arm to her wrist and to her hand, a little squeeze, back up the inside of her arm, over her shoulder, down the middle of her back to the small of her back, and then stopped. And she was like, whew. So she turned and faced him and she says, honey, that was wonderful. I haven't felt that from you in a long time. Why did you stop? He said, oh, I found the remote. Thank you, Engedi, for allowing me to share with you a little bit tonight. Love you. Blessings on you and your marriage as I turn it back over to my friends. Thank you all very much.
Oh, can we give Ted one more great big thank you tonight? Just keep looking. It's to the left, to the left, to the left. Oh, yeah. Hey, all right. He's funny, just can't find the hole in the curtain. That's all there is to it. So good being with you guys all tonight. I was kind of tucked away in the back. The whole time I'm thinking, gosh, I wish Christina could be here. Ironically, for Ted's last comment there, she's at a lacrosse tournament with our son tonight. And I said, babe, it's date night, comedy night. Don't you understand? And she said, well, this is a true story. She said, well, you could take the dog. So we're going to work on it later. That's going to be... So, hey, just before you leave, let me say just a couple of things to you. Number one, again, Ted will be out in the lobby after tonight. He's going to have a bunch of books, and he'll be able to greet you and maybe sell some books to you and sign some books as well. So I want to encourage you to check that out. Secondly, Ted mentioned we all want great backup singers to the duets in the room, and one of the best ways you can do that is being part of a cable group. Janelle, our cable group, our small group coordinator, is going to be out there. She could help you take a next step, getting in some great places of life-giving community. And then the third thing I'll say is if you don't have anything else going on tomorrow morning, or Sunday morning rather, we are finishing our 4th week in a marriage relationships series. It's been so much fun. I'm telling you right now, Sunday is gonna be a great day. You need to be here for that. So with all that said, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for being here and good luck in the parking lot. All right.